Beth Vegans, and I am what they call a personal trainer, strength coach. Some people call me a nutritionist. Some people call me a health and wellness educator, but I just call myself Coach B. Before I was vegan, I was vegetarian. I grew up vegetarian. I was vegetarian up until 1998. We did not eat meat. Growing up, we did not eat meat. The reason I was vegetarian until 1998 is because my mother is a Sabbath keeper in the Adventist church, and she adopted the practices of the Adventist church, which is, plant-based. That diet transferred over into her children. I started to question why. I'm like, why don't we eat meat? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And for me, 16, 17 years old, going to school, friends, and I knew that I ate a different way. I knew that my ham sandwiches, they weren't ham. I knew that the chicken salad wasn't chicken salad. And my mother gave me some books to read because she didn't want to say, because I said so. She didn't want to do that. She just gave me some books to read. And one book caught my attention. I forget the author, but the title, Meat on the Menu, Who Needs It? And I was blown away because it was this thin little book that said so much. And that was given to me, I think, at 16. Now, I read it at 16 or 17 years old. And I understood why then. I'm vegetarian. Okay, this is why, So fast forward to 1998. A friend of mine, I would eat with him. We were good friends, and I would make some things and eggs and, the whole, the egg white omelet, with the spinach and the onions and all that stuff, the cheese. I would have sinus headaches, and I thought they were just allergies or pollen or stuff like that. I would just roll around in the floor with just sinus headaches. They would really, really, really be awful. He went out of town for a week or two, and I knew that, okay, I'm not eating the same way, so what was the difference? The difference was when he came back into town, I started having the sinus headaches again. And so when he came back, I was like, this is strange. No sinus headaches for 2 weeks, and then, I'm gonna get off dairy. I got off dairy, I got off the eggs, I got off the cheese, I got off a little bit of milk, a little bit of egg whites, and the headaches just dissipated. The headaches left. And I said, this is what I will do. And it's been 24 years. As a strength coach, people say, oh, you need meat, you need this, you need that. Well, I tell them, I eat what elephants eat, basically. I eat what the other animals eat for strength, the greens, the legumes, the nuts and stuff like that, the wholesome grains, and that's what I eat, the fruits. And so I put two and two together. 1998, became vegan, and my favorite saying is, I eat what elephants eat, basically.
I guess you got that from Dominique Toms.
Right. So absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Now I guess you haven't had those headaches anymore.
I haven't had those type of headaches anymore. I just have not. Those were some excruciating headaches.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any other changes you noticed after going vegan?
My thinking, clarity, the way my food had been even digested, because of course, plants, nuts, they're in their simplest form. So when I would eat, I'm like, oh wow, I feel different. I'm not lethargic. I'm not trying to process certain things that my body may not know how to process, or I'm extending so much energy to process. Everything is processed, and I get it. A lot of people say everything is processed. Maybe, maybe not. It just depends. We never stick a fork in a chicken and eat the chicken right there. There's the process the chicken has to go through to give you your chicken breast, your chicken wing, and the other stuff. So basically, the greens, the fruits, the beans, the legumes, the nuts, the certain type of grains that I do eat, they're in their simplest form. So I had to get used to my metabolism speeding up. I had to get used to digesting speeding up. And so that's basically was the biggest change for me.
I love how you said that the animals are basically processed foods, because people will say, oh, well, it's not that you got rid of eating animals. These people get rid of processed foods, and that's why they're doing better than if they were just eliminating animals. And I'm like, well, animals are processed foods too because they got their nutrients from plants, and then their body's DNA processed those nutrients for that body's specific needs.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then now you're going to eat the animal to try to get the nutrients it got from the plant.
And I call that secondary nutrition.
Yeah. Any other changes, whether they're physical, mental, emotional? You were already a vegetarian, so maybe you didn't notice a lot of changes other than your headaches.
Other than the headaches, just digestion became easier. Digestion became easier. Oh, wow, yeah. The monthly feminine process became easier. I didn't know. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, of course. But when I became vegan, that whole process was just, I never knew it could be that, let me say this, no cramps. Right? No cramps. No. So I never knew it could be, because I thought always, as a woman, you're going to have cramps. I didn't.
I think you're kind of lucky there, because some do still, you know.
Still. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But now, what were the main things that you were eating? Were they like, or consuming? Was it like milk and cheese and eggs, or what, you know, that you got rid of?
Okay, so I got rid of the eggs, I got rid of the cheeses, you know, the myriad of cheeses that we consume. I got rid of the milk. I got rid of the occasional ice cream, of course, which is made from milk. I got rid of that. Bagel and cream cheese. That's a staple for some people. I got rid of the bagel and the cream cheese, the cottage cheese and pineapples. You know, the cottage cheese and fruit. I got rid of that. Because we don't know how much we do consume dairy. It was just, even as a vegetarian, I didn't know how much I was consuming dairy to even actually have those sinus headaches, because, you know, our body produces its own mucus anyway.
I guess, yeah, because you're not really trying to omit it, so you're not thinking about it.
Absolutely,
it's
absolutely.
So pervasive. Wow. Yeah, it's like in everything. I guess they're just trying to use it all up, and so they put it in everything. Is veganism a really salient part of your life, or do you have a lot of other hobbies that have nothing to do with it?
I have a lot of other hobbies that have nothing to do with being vegan. I like to read, go for long walks. I like to work out. I like to be strong. I like puzzles, crossword puzzles. I love them. I love them. Challenge me in a way. But other than being vegan, because vegan is not really I tell people all the time, vegan is not really a person. You know, it shows up in your life as something that you do. It's not necessarily, if it's who you are, it describes the characteristics of yourself, so to speak. So I tend to show up as a person who just happens to be vegan.
It's kind of like almost a hobby on steroids, but this is your profession right here, right? This is something that maybe was a hobby before it became your profession, right?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that a little more. So you're into fitness and you're a trainer, right?
Right.
And you're also getting your master's in
clinical nutrition.
Yeah.
So before all of this, I was a child athlete, not really necessarily on the big teams or anything like that. Did some playing around in high school, like, you know, basketball, track, and not really being that phenom, I guess, because I didn't put a lot of effort into it, but just here and there, you know. One day I was running the 200 meter and I heard my hamstring pop. It was so loud and it felt so bad and it hurt so bad. The rehab with that hamstring pop, I was fascinated by it. I was fascinated by the rehab. So when I graduated from high school, my major course of study was health and PE. And I said, I didn't want to teach per se when I got out of college. So I said, what can I do? Because I wanted to learn about the science of the body, right? Because my hamstring healed. You know, I wanted to learn about, you know, the mind-muscle connection. Why? Because my hamstring healed. So I went into exercise science and I got a 4-year degree in exercise science. And because of being a former athlete, I said, well, exercise science, I could have done an internship as a cardiac rehab specialist I didn't want to do that. I could have done an internship as a respiratory therapist. I didn't want to do that. So guess what I did? Physical therapy. I'm like, I have recollection of what that means, right? So I did a internship in physical therapy, and it really opened my mind to the body, the mind, corrective exercise, even in an athletic sense. So got my degree, exercise science, and I wanted to train athletes. I said, well, I don't know if this is going to be right for me, so let me get into training athletes or whatever. So I got my Certified Strength Conditioning Specialist certification from the National Strength Conditioning Association, CSCS. So I said, okay, this is cool for the time being. So I learned corrective exercise, I learned explosiveness, strength, speed, function, muscle function. I've learned even from exercise science, cardiopulmonary, cardiovascular, lung capacity, max, just your body as it relates to exercise. I've learned that and I've studied that like crazy. And so that's what I do now. And I knew that nutrition played a part in it. Like I said, my mother, we grew up vegetarian. My mother's the oldest of 5 sisters. 3 are deceased. My mother has outlived in the age. My grandmother passed at 58. Some of her uncles didn't see 60. Her sisters. So I tried to put 2 and 2 together, and I said, wow, could it be her menu? Could it be her lifestyle even, right? So basically, I was trying to get in school, 3 or 4 years have passed, already in my profession, already training, already, corrective exercise, prenatal postpartum training, expecting mothers, training people to, that have had hip surgery, back surgery, all this stuff, shoulder. I said, what can help these people foster healing internally? And I said, okay, so it's the menu. So I looked at what my mother is doing, and I looked at my clients. I said, let's switch some things up. Let's switch some things up. And so the plant-based menu that I've studied allowed me to understand basically basic nutrition and the physicality of nutrition. I think nutrition has a physical component as well that helps with our anatomy, that gets nutrition on a cellular level. I believe in that. And so the master's in clinical nutrition, I'll be graduating very soon, it made sense to me because it goes along with how I think, how I was raised, and what I've studied. So it just made sense to me.
That's cool. Yeah. Now, what can you do with a degree like that?
A degree like that, since Georgia is, and I want to be accurate when I say this, I have to be a registered dietitian in Georgia to actually say that I'm a nutritionist, right? So for me, the knowledge is power. I'm not acting as a nutritionist, I'm acting as a health advocate for someone that needs nutrition counseling.
Define veganism.
I think veganism is a way of life, a way of thinking, a way of expressing love. Love for your body and love for humanity. And giving yourself life, food that can sustain your life. I'm a fan of one-liners. And at first it sounded harsh to me. At first it sounded extremely harsh to me. When I was, I think I was 18 years old. And someone asked me, how can something dead keep you alive? I was like, whoa. When I got rid of the harshness of that statement, it started to just mellow out and say, that's an interesting question. And so for me, I internalized that question and I said, wow, this is interesting. So if you don't eat an apple for 21 days and you start back eating that apple, or you don't eat an apple for 30 days, you start back eating that apple, you're eating an apple. right? So there have been people that have gotten off meat and dairy for a period of time, and they start back ingesting it, and they become kind of ill. They don't feel the same. So I said, this is interesting. So what veganism is to me is an adaptation of life, and having life and communing with life, so we can live and have a different lifestyle. That's what I think veganism is to me.
Yeah, adaptation. I'm glad you said that. I think people adapt to eating animals. It's an unhealthy adaptation, but they don't realize that it's an unhealthy adaptation. Just like you can adapt to smoking. The first time somebody smokes, they cough. And after that, it's like, oh, it's nothing, you know? And then they've adapted to it, and then now they think they need it when they try to quit. So it's cool that you use that word. You initially went vegan, it sounds like for health reasons because of the migraines, that observation you made there. Have those reasons changed since then? And is there more salient reason now for you to be vegan, or is it kind of still the same?
I'm more in tune with life. I'm more in tune with food doesn't regulate what I do every single day. I'm not going to get the omelet over here, or, oh, I like their so-and-so over there, or I'm gonna just make this look. It's much more of a communing with my body. Let me just say that. I will say it just like that.
For you to be vegan and not acquiesce to eating what everybody else is eating, is it more for ethical reasons now, or is it still for health?
Both. It's more for ethical reasons, and it's more for health reasons as well. I think for me, it's both. It's both.
Because in the beginning, it sounds like it was more just like, wow, this personal health reason.
Absolutely. The consumption of meat, an animal has to die to give food, or what people think is food. And I think for ethical reasons, I don't know if anyone should allow someone to die or allow an animal to die to give them food. I think that's a very selfish type of environment.
Now you're into fitness and bulking up. Is there any advantage to eating animals if you're trying to build or make gains?
So the argument here, this is pretty cool, interesting, I should say. Argument here is meat gives you protein. Protein is, I should say, amino acids. Amino acids is found in vegetation. Amino acids are found in avocado even. Amino acids are found in food. So when you want to get more of an amino acid profile, why not just eat more vegetation, more fruits, more vegetables? Because guess what? That cow is eating vegetation to give you the protein. That chicken is eating things to give you protein. They just don't come with, or amino acids. They just don't come and say, okay, hey, no matter, you're not going to starve a chicken, and the chicken now has protein, carbohydrates, and fat. That chicken has to do something. That cow has to eat something to give you what you are getting from the cow. So why not just do first-hand nutrition instead of secondary nutrition?
Let me get this straight. You've never eaten any meat? Or maybe have you tried?
I remember my mother telling me when I was 2 years old, my grandmother gave me something. I can't remember if it was a piece of this or a piece of that. I can't remember. And my body rejected it. It just rejected it. And she was apologetic, so sorry, because she forgot. Because what do you do? Well, what do you do when you're small? You give, well, in my community, in where I live and how I grew up, you give a child a chicken bone to gnaw on, right? I mean, that was something that you would do to keep them quiet or something like that. I've seen it done, and I think it was, done in to me. But yeah, I don't even remember it. 2 years old, I don't even remember it. But that's just basically, yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's the only time?
That's the only time, yeah.
Now, how did she know it was safe to raise a kid vegetarian?
She did not know it was safe to raise a kid vegetarian. What was so interesting is, this is gonna sound so funny, I thought all the children around me were vegetarian because I had lentil loaf, I had cabbage, I had mashed potatoes, I would eat what other kids were eating. I did not know, oh, this is kind of interesting. I did not know I was vegetarian until I was 12, maybe even 13. I didn't know, because I didn't know how separate, so to speak, the food was that I was eating from what other kids were eating. I had no idea.
Did you not go to the same school?
Same school, but I packed my lunch.
Okay.
I packed my lunch. I had sandwiches, I had chips, I had the little bitty juice box, you know. So I'm not gonna ask you, hey, I didn't. What type of sandwich is your sandwich? You're just eating with the kids, with your friends, and you're having a good old time at lunch.
So you always brought your own and never had to resort to the nasty school lunches, huh?
When I knew I was vegetarian, like I said, I was 12. So if I did the school lunch, I just did what I could eat. I did what I could eat.
Let's talk about bulking up a little bit more.
I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna tell you what I was told. I was told this. What we deem as food, it doesn't make you. It can keep you. A lot of people throw around genetics. Oh, I have blue eyes, my dad had blue eyes, or I have heart disease because, you know, it's hereditary. But they never really think about stature. They never really think about muscle. They never really think about even fat, even hereditary, even things being hereditary like that. A lot of people, we live in this visually aesthetic society that says if you are this size, these angles, if you will, and this 5'8", you're okay. Whereas I've met people, I have clients that you would probably think are obese. Their inside numbers are better than some people 50 to 60 pounds less than them. I work with the inside numbers. I work with the blood pressure. I work with the glucose. I work with, the cholesterol. I work with all those numbers that can allow me to see if you're at optimal health or not. Because I personally don't want to be biased and say, just because this person is 200 pounds means that they're not healthy. Well, here are the numbers that can support that they are healthy. Now, if you're not exercising on most days of the week, and if you're not, adopting, if you're not eating a balanced menu, let's just say that, if you're not eating a balanced menu and you're not exercising on most days of the week, I'm sure your levels and numbers are going to be off. I'm sure that you may be carrying more body fat than more body weight. Someone can be overweight, but not necessarily over fat. There are a lot of clinical implications of what people deem as unhealthy and healthy. I'm gonna just say that.
Dr. Milton Mills gets a lot of criticism for the way he appears to be. Now, he's a short, stocky guy, shorter than me, but he's broader than me, and I don't feel like he could ever be my size. Have you noticed that with some people, and what do you understand when it comes to overweight and vegan, whereas a non-vegan overweight, how that might be different?
Absolutely. So for me, I say this, and I say this to people that ask me, oh, well, Coach, you're not all small and thin. How are you vegan? My dad wasn't small and thin. My mother is not small and thin. So you're telling me that heart disease and high cholesterol and all that stuff can be hereditary, but not the way I'm built? When people come to me and they want to shame me being vegan or another person being vegan because we don't look like what people think that we're supposed to look, I tell them, run my numbers. Run my numbers, basically. And at my size, I have less visceral than someone that's my size. So run the numbers. The numbers support themselves.
So sometimes in defense of Dr. Milton Mills, I'll say, well, maybe he's got, like you said, a genetic predisposition to be a certain size, like an endomorph.
Measure my shoulders and then measure yours. Mm-hmm. Different body types, different measurements, different metabolism even, different eyes, different nose, different mouth, different hair texture. Why can't I just have a different body style?
Can a person look at another person and determine whether or not they're healthy just by the way they look?
Yes and no. If you're saying look as a nutrition-focused physical exam. In my studies, we call it NFPE, nutrition-focused physical exam. That's, I'm looking at eyes, I'm looking at eyebrows, I'm looking at hair texture, if your scalp is dry. I'm looking at the visible biomarkers of health. Your eyes may have some yellow in them or what have you. So outside of that, if you're looking for a person's size and you want to size this person up outside of the nutrition-focused physical exam, then no, you can't tell if someone's healthy or not. You can't tell their numbers or not. You can't.
You mentioned visceral fat. It's important also to share. Vegans tend to have a different type of fat. Can you talk a little bit about that, like the difference between a vegan with the same BMI as a non-vegan?
Non-vegans, vegans, they may, like we were saying, weigh the same, but the non-vegan may have a little bit more visceral fat than the vegan. The muscle fat causes insulin resistance. When you eat a vegan diet, you have a less propensity to have diabetes. Basically, our postprandial glucose is less when we eat a plant-based diet.
So I'm hearing you say your biomarkers can improve by exercising. I noticed that there's not a lot of centenarians that are like bodybuilders. What do we know about really exercise or at least bulking and longevity or health span? Is there really any advantage there?
So I will say this, resistance training. A lot of people equate working out with bodybuilding. I do a lot of functional training and resistance training. Your body weight, your body can be your own resistance. You don't have to add weight to a push-up for it to be a push-up. You don't have to add weight to a squat for it to be a squat. Those primitive moves can help your muscles. Muscles pull on bones, and bones conform to the muscles being pulled on them. So if you see someone, let's just say older, and they haven't worked out their back muscles, okay, then you see them conform to, going back to the center of gravity, you see them conform to the muscles that they haven't worked out, because the bone is being shaped by the muscles that haven't been worked out. So what do? You do stretching. What do? You probably do some yoga. I think all exercise, I do believe, is resistance training, in my humble opinion. All exercise is resistance training, whether it's your body weight or whether it's a dumbbell or a band. Bodybuilding, to me, is for aesthetics. Bodybuilding is for aesthetics. Bodybuilding is now a sport. Bodybuilding and resistance training, some say it's synonymous. For me, it's different. It's different.
I guess it's more about fitness for you, maybe, right?
It's more about health and wellness in the realm of being fit, put it that way.
Yeah. And I think, osteoporosis is one of those things that we need to worry about, or women especially. So resistance, but also impact, right?
Impact, very much so. Impact, jumping rope, some light jump squats, even some trampoline work.
Some people stereotype vegans as being small and thin, and you're pretty buff. I think people get surprised, maybe. Are people surprised that you're vegan?
People are very surprised that I'm vegan because, like we were saying, the people associate vegan with a look in their mind, because people associate diets with losing weight. Veganism is a lifestyle. If we all equate certain things and attribute certain things to a diet, 95% of diets fail anyway. Let me just put that in there as a commercial, okay? So it's lifestyle is the key. So if I adopt a different lifestyle and I happen to look the same as you, what you're saying, okay, so this is gonna sound really cool. If I adopt a different lifestyle and I look the same as someone else that does not have my lifestyle, what they're saying is, well, wait a minute. I can still, for most women, it's, keeping the derriere and being voluptuous, so to speak. And so I run into some women that I don't want to lose too much weight now because I want to keep my curves, right? So basically, when I show up, they're saying, well, wait a minute. I can still keep certain things, certain attributes and characteristics of my body and still Be plant-based? I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Okay, so why not? And then it becomes another thing. Well, I can't go out with my friends and they don't eat this way, they don't eat that way, they don't. Okay, but I thought it was because you don't want to lose your figure. So a lot of people have different, I would say, let's just say excuses as to why it may not work for them or it may not be what they really want to do.
It's interesting because some people do want to gain more weight, whether they're vegan or not. But, I do know some vegans that are really wanting to gain more weight. And I'm like, but if this is what you are, why not just be fine with it? And isn't it more about being healthy than looking a certain way?
Absolutely. And we're such an aesthetic society, so I understand that as well. A lot of people just want to look a certain way because that's what other people see. And I'm going to tell you something. If I was worried about what other people see, I think I'm the most, boring eater that there is, right? So,
Let's talk about food. What are some of your favorite things to eat?
My favorite things to eat are black beans, quinoa, avocado, fruits, greens. I'm from the South, so I like me some greens. Just the typical foods that we eat without meat. I have a gluten sensitivity. It's not an intolerance, but it's a sensitivity. So I don't do a lot of
seitan.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of that stuff. Seitan, I don't. But I do like my legumes. I do like my nuts even. I do like quinoa, barley. I do like certain things like that.
Now you mentioned beans, and I think beans are fantastic. Legumes, definitely on the list of things to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday I interviewed somebody and she's like against starches and beans. She's more of this Dr. Sebi kind of oriented person who's like, it says it causes phlegm or something like that. Is that not a concern of yours? Have you heard of that?
I've heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's not a concern of mine. That's my short answer. It's not a concern of mine.
So you'll eat potatoes and stuff like that?
I'll do much more of a sweet potato than I would do a russet potato. I find this is going to say, so I get vegan shamed, right? I get vegan shamed by the people who, as you said, the people who follow a certain particular vegan person, the people who follow, I get vegan shamed from even fruitarians, right? Get vegan shame for people who they don't do
salt, oil, or sugar.
Any type of grains.
Oh, okay.
I get vegan shame for people who don't eat sweet potatoes. And listen, for me, I don't do dairy. I don't do eggs. I'm okay with the Japanese sweet potato. I'm okay. I'm so okay. I'm okay with an avocado. I'm so okay. I'm okay with sliced cucumbers and sliced tomatoes. I'm okay.
Is there anything in your clinical studies that have supported this idea, though, that there's this mucus that can occur from eating beans? Because I'm kind of like trying to figure that out. Like, is that a thing?
I'm trying to figure that out as well.
You eat kind of like the Daily Dozen. You ever heard of that? Dr. Greger, nutrition
right,
facts?
Yeah.
Your beans, grains, fruits, veggies, mushrooms, nuts, seeds, herbs, spices. Do you work out every day?
I do something on most days. Mm-hmm. I say that because a lot of people, they stress out about, I gotta go work out. I gotta go. Don't make it a chore. If you have time to do about 15 squats in the middle of the floor, washing dishes, do that. You have time to stretch a little bit for about 10 minutes, do that. A lot of people have created so much stress around working out that I don't even call it a working out anymore. I don't. I call it like training. Train your body. Just train your body.
Now, I asked you earlier if there's any advantage to eat animals when it comes to trying to bulk up or be fit. Is there any advantage to eating plants exclusively when it comes to fitness, whether it be recovery time or bulking?
Absolutely. You see more athletes going plant-based because it lessens their recovery time. You see more athletes going plant-based because it decreases inflammation. right? So if a lifestyle, not a diet, but if a lifestyle decreases inflammation and the itises are inflammatory diseases, then more than likely the athletic community would want to decrease inflammation for functionality. So I do believe that plant-based diets have an advantage. I do believe that.
You know, it's interesting. I don't know if you've seen this, but maybe you have. Let me know if you have. There was these twins who basically do everything together, do everything the same. And one goes as an experiment, one goes vegan, and one goes like carnivore or something.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard?
I saw that.
Yeah.
I think I saw that.
Yeah. And if I recall correctly, the vegan didn't gain as much weight. And then the non-vegan, he bulked up a little bit more, but he didn't perform better. The vegan, I think, had better energy and performed better. Is that in line with things that you know?
That's what I see.
Yeah.
I see that often. Yes, I see that often.
Does it matter what time of day to work out and eating beforehand, after, anything like that? Any kind of schedule recommendations?
I don't have any schedule recommendations. For me, being in this exercise community for so long, what happens is a lot of people ask me, Coach, what's the best exercise? The one that you will do consistently, right? So I don't want there to be abundance of stress with a lifestyle. Most people are overweight. I just want you to exercise. 600,000 Americans pass away from heart disease. Heart disease is a cardiometabolic disease, meaning it can be combated with menu selection and exercise. Let's just start there, right? Let's just start having better habits, right? Let's just start adopting a different lifestyle. And maybe those numbers, those astronomical numbers, will lessen. Whereas we working out in the morning or in the evening, I don't care at this point. I just want a different lifestyle adopted. Circadian rhythm, bulk of your calories early during the day, because you may become more sedentary after 4 p.m., 6 p.m. and stuff like that. In a community where there are food deserts, and in a community where people, choose certain foods over others because it's just available, in a community where, you're worried about malnutrition even. On the different side of the spectrum, I just want somebody to eat. to eat. For me, if you're eating after 8 p.m. and you have been working all day and you come in and eat, you're eating some legumes and some quinoa and some spinach, go right ahead. Because at the end of the day, you're not going for the Ritz crackers and the Vienna sausages.
What about fasting, though? I mean, they could just fast until the morning and get a really good morning meal in.
And I think if a person has not adopted that lifestyle of understanding what fasting is, it's just going to stress a person out.
Yeah.
It's just going to stress a person out. And at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you're going to get that hunger pain. It's going to wake you up. You're going to go to the refrigerator and get whatever's available.
What are your thoughts on the difference between like a healthy hunger and an unhealthy hunger?
So a healthy hunger for me is adopting a lifestyle to where you're getting nutrition. You're getting nutrition instead of going for certain things that may be a toxic hunger, a type of hunger that says only a piece of lasagna would cure. Only 2 or 3 slices of cake would cure a toxic hunger. I'm hungry for, how people say I'm hungry for this, hungry for that. I just want some lentils. Hey, So for me, a toxic hunger is a hunger that's supported by a satisfying emotional feeling based on an emotion that you're feeling with that toxic hunger. If you're sitting around a table and you remember your grandmother used to do this, your grandmother used to do that, and you're missing your grandmother, so to speak, and you want to, I want some soul food because I'm missing. I can get that. I understand that. But you're gonna eat that every day? Why? Habits. Exactly. Habits. And so our habits have created a lifestyle that's not supportive of health. And that's what I see it. Habits create a lifestyle that's not supportive of health.
I interviewed this 70 years old vegan from birth, never eaten pizza, never eaten, animals. He uses food as fuel, not as like this emotional reward. I think that's a pretty awesome thing, because sometimes I find myself neurotically just eating just for the sake of eating.
And sometimes I call that mindless eating.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have mindless situations where if something is quick, we just do this, and you're like, wait a minute, whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
That's but I get what you're saying.
If I just give myself a chance to actually do something more productive or creative, that feeling goes away.
That feeling goes
And
away.
then I realized, well, that wasn't true hunger. That was just something else.
That was something else. And I do like, food is fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Nutrients are fuel.
Mm-hmm. Do you talk about these sorts of things with your people that you work with?
I don't bring up menu, honestly, unless they bring up menu. I don't bring up menu unless they bring up menu, because I try to listen more than I talk to them. You're coming to me because, I just want to lose weight. Okay. All right. Okay. The initial consultation, I do an initial consultation, because I want to figure out how your body has acquiesced to your environment over the years. I look for past injuries. I look for, even past accidents, and how your body holds itself, so to speak, how your body holds tension. And so when that initial consultation happens from previous injuries or injuries over the years that have not been so injurious, but now you're 50 and now your shoulder hurts from when you did something at 4. Got it. So I look at those and I say, okay, so here's how I can help. And we go for corrective exercise first. And then the talk comes about the menu. Because getting to me is probably one of the most stressful things that you're going to do in a year. Just saying that I need someone to help me through this. That's very stressful. That's a stressful event in someone's life. It can be good stress, it can be bad stress, depending on what the doctor tells you, or depending on what you see in the mirror. I don't want to add to that with something that, put on top of that, something that you may not be able to sustain, you may not be able to do. Because for me, it's much more psychological than it is physical. I want someone to know, oh man, I feel better. It's been about 3 weeks, lost about 6 pounds. How can I keep this going? Now I got you, because guess what? You're doing something you haven't been engaging in doing, and you're losing weight. You're looking different in the mirror. I got you. So let's go this way. I'm going to put certain things in your menu. Let me put an avocado in your menu a day. Let me put a fourth of a cup of walnuts in your menu a day. Let me put certain things in your menu. Because if I put certain things in your menu, naturally you're going to take things out. So I want to give you nutrition and not take away food. You're going to do that on your own. That's how I govern my business. I'm going to give you nutrition. I'm going to suggest nutrition. I'm going to suggest anti-inflammatory foods. I'm going to suggest more plant-based foods. I'm going to suggest that. You're going to take out other food on your own. And that's the whole premise of how I govern my business.
And by that point, they might be feeling a little better about themselves, so they're ready for something that's maybe a little more challenging than they were.
Most definitely.
That's cool. Do you have other ways in which you encourage other people to go vegan or plant-based, whether it's family, friends, strangers? Mm-hmm. And what have you found to be most effective?
I find that when I encourage people to go plant-based, it's something that they've never done. So when a person comes to me and says, Coach, they have to say it to me. Coach, I'll do whatever. I'll do whatever it takes, because I got to get off this medication. I got to do this. I got to do that. Got to do this. Got to do that. I said, okay. All right. I understand. Why? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do that? Why is this so important to you? And if they can tell me their why, what has you changing your life? If their heart is in the why, then they're going to do what I'm asking them to do. Okay? If their heart is in the why, they're going to do what I'm asking them to do. So basically, at that point, I'm just delivering information. They're already motivated, because we have to go over their why. And it can't be. It was so funny. People would come to me, oh, I'm training for my wedding. I'm training for a trip, training for a family reunion or a class reunion. I want to look a certain way and I want to do this and I want to do that. Your why is not deep enough for me. It's just not. It's just not. So I used to train. I don't train. We don't train anymore. I want to coach someone that is ready. And if you're not ready, you're putting that level of readiness in my hands for you if you're not ready. That's more successful for the person and me.
So you don't ever try to maybe encourage others who aren't even alluding to wanting to hear it?
I do. It's a thought. So it comes up in conversation. Oh, coach, I've been having some type of, pain here and pain there. I'm like, oh, okay. I'll let that marinate. Okay. Oh, I haven't been sleeping well. I don't know what's going on. Okay. I let that talk come about first. And then I express, I want to change your diet. I want to change your menu. Let's change your lifestyle. Let's change your lifestyle. When they first come to me, they realize they're coming to me because it's a lifestyle change. It's going to be a habit change, so to speak, right? Over my career, the most stressful events happen around food, whether it's good stress or bad stress. You have food at a wedding, right? You have food at a funeral, okay, right? So to navigate those emotions, I don't want the first conversation to be about food.
What about family members? Do you try to encourage them, and how do you deal with family members that aren't vegan?
Wow, I do try to encourage family members to be vegan. I do. My mother is the oldest of 5, 4 are deceased. My family looks at my mother and sees her lifestyle and understands, okay, well, or auntie or cousin or, auntie does this or cousin so-and-so does that. The lifestyle that she has, that's a testament to the sustainability, and of her menu, of her lifestyle, so to speak. When I first started, this story always makes me cry. So when I first started training, fresh out of high school, entering into a college program, I trained a family member of mine. My family member was morbidly obese, close to 600 pounds. And I'm not going to get teary-eyed. I'm not. Close to 600 pounds. My old track workouts, because at that point I wasn't formally trained to actually physically train someone. So I said, hey, come with me, do this with me, do that with me. My family member lost so much weight. I was like, whoa, this is amazing. I'm stoked. I'm just excited. A family member gained it back. It's like, what happened? Time out. Flag on the play. What happened? It was food. It was food. The addiction to food was greater than the addiction for life. And that sent me into such a sunken place because I'm thinking, I don't know how to navigate that. So it began to really, I didn't go into a depression. I started to understand lifestyle habits differently at that point. I started understanding lifestyle habits differently. So when you just asked me about the family members that are close to me, that do I teach or coach or different lifestyle? Do we talk about it? We do because they have seen family members succumb to the lifestyle, subsequently passing away because of cardiometabolic diseases, so to speak. So there's minimal talking that I do because the impact is seen.
how do you stay positive and strong and healthy in such a sick world?
It's not about me. It's so not about me. Everything that I do, yeah, I get paid for it. Yeah, I got that. I think health and wellness is a ministry. I do. And if you are ministering, coaching is a ministry. Coaching, facilitating, making someone better, allowing someone to understand you can get from point A to point B. I'm going to help you. You put all that energy into this person. You put because you realize, I realize that we are all vessels. You know, we are all earthly beings having such a spiritual experience that I'm not going to hoard what I've been given on this earth to help people. So I think that's what keeps me, matter of fact, I know that's what keeps me motivated, because I realize that it's not mine. I have to give it and gift it away. It's not mine.
You said earlier that you didn't realize you were eating different until you were like, what, 12 or something?
Right, till this day. I used to, right, I didn't know, because I had oatmeal patties, I had pecan patties when I was younger. What did? We put them through 2 pieces of bread, had a sandwich. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that people did not eat the way I ate. Someone else's meatloaf, that was my lentil loaf.
Now, when you were 12 or 13 or whatever, take us back to when you first realized that you were doing something different.
This is a cool story. So I remember that my brother and I, we were going to a function, like a family reunion, if you like, I think it was a family reunion or something like that. And, you know, my brother had our food in a cooler. I'm like, what is that? He's like, oh, this is our food. I'm like, our food? Like, what do you mean our food? He's like, well, Mom packed this for us. I'm like, okay. Like, we're not eating what the family's eating? Like, well, no, you know, B, we're gonna eat this. These are our sandwiches. These are our, you know, this, and these are, I'm like, oh, let's go home. Mommy, why did you pack us different food? And that started the conversations. Like, well, everybody doesn't, they don't do the oatmeal patties or the pecan patties. She's like, well, no, babe, you know, people eat like meat, people. So I didn't know, right? I had no clue.
And so did she tell you those were animals that they were eating?
At that point, no, she didn't. She just said people eat differently. Because of course I was still in school, still in, you know, elementary, you know, I didn't, you know, I guess. And she didn't want me to say, oh, you're eating animals. You know, she didn't want me to, you know, shame my classmates, right? So when I got of some age, like I said, 16, 17 years old, she allowed me to read all these books, pros and cons. And she, you know, that's when I understood a little bit more.
So she really just kind of just kept it hidden from you.
And maybe not hidden, like, overtly, maybe like a covert, like hidden, because, you know, like I said, I didn't know it was oatmeal. You're making patties and I think, because I equated it in my grandmother, we called my grandmother Big Mama, you know, she made meat patties as well with ground beef, right?
So, I mean, maybe we can have a vegan world. We just need to trick everybody and like your mom did you.
Trick me, baby. You know?
What was it like when you realized people are eating animals and you're not?
Oh, wow. Wow. This is going to sound so weird. I didn't equate younger but older, reading the books and everything, meat on the menu, who needs it. So this is going to sound so crazy. What I realized was reading that book, 16, 17, reading that book, Meat on the Menu, Who Needs It? Because I was questioning certain things over time, you know, from the age of like 12, 13, 14, 15. So my mom finally, here's what I want you to do. I want you to read this stuff. Okay, so I read that book. And that book was very triggering because this is going to sound so crazy, Jeff. I didn't equate meat eating, so crazy, meat eating with animals.
You didn't really, it was like you didn't know those were animals.
I didn't know it's like, it was just so strange. Back in the day, I'm just realizing I didn't equate the two. I said, wait a minute. 2021, I started equating the two, right? 16, 17, I was like, food, meat, animal. It didn't register. It didn't register. 2021, I'm like, wait a minute. It's a cow. Like, okay. Steak is cow. Oh, wow, shut up. Like, it didn't register until until I became that age. I know it may sound funny, but it just didn't register.
And that's when you went vegan, right?
That's when I went vegan.
Yeah, at 2021.
20, yep. Mm-hmm.
That was when you finally realized that those were animals.
Finally realized those were animals, and finally realized where the headaches were coming from. You know,
wow, it all just kind of came.
All just came. It was like, wait. So yes.
Was it hard to go vegan right then and there?
No, because if you had the headaches I had, stat vegan now. Like when I made the correlation, I was like, ooh, yeah.
Were you dating and stuff before that? Going out to eat with people?
Right, exactly. And so
parties,
so
pizza,
that's
blah,
the challenging part right there, right? Because food, like I was just saying, food is at the helm of social events, you know, stressful events. Whether it's good or bad stress. Did you not eat
when you went to those places or what?
I did. Sometimes I would eat before. Sometimes we would eat after. The infamous vegetable tray, right? We all know the infamous vegetable tray. You have the celery, the cucumber, what is it? The celery, cucumber,
carrot.
What is it? The carrots and this, the tomato.
Broccoli,
right. Then you have this big old thing of ranch dressing in the center, right? So I'm like, well, I'll just get some vegetables. And then the infamous fruit tray, right? So everywhere I went, there was something that I could eat. But of course, I wasn't doing the wings and the burgers, the sliders and stuff like that.
You didn't really think about what that was, and you just went right by it.
Just, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so wild. Pizza. You ate cheese, but no pepperoni.
Cheese, no pepperoni, vegetables on the pizza, stuff like that.
Did you know what the pepperoni was and the sausage?
I did not. That's the thing. It sounds crazy. It just sounds so crazy with me saying it now. It's like I didn't realize that was that.
No, were you the kind of kid who was at home a lot, maybe also?
Sports, home, piano lesson.
Oh, so you were busy. You weren't like just hanging out at a friend's house.
Right. And plus, if the friends came to my house, they eat what we eat. Right?
Yeah.
And you know, your first friends are your cousins, right? So my cousins at that time were vegetarian as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. When I told some of my friends about the guy who was 70, never ate pizza, blah, 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 they just thought that was the craziest. It was almost like they thought it was inhumane or something.
Right.
Like, he doesn't know what he's missing, or maybe he doesn't need to know because, you know.
But right, I've had people tell me the same thing. Wait, you've never... We're in Atlanta, Georgia. So lemon pepper wet wings are a staple to some people. What, you never tasted lemon pepper wet? I'm like, as opposed to lemon pepper dry. You know, like, no, I haven't.
Wow.
No, I haven't.
For those people, if you're listening, imagine a crackhead saying, "Man, you don't know what you're missing." You know, do you really want to do crack?
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's so interesting. So to your point, it's like, we can, for some things, we think about some things in one realm, but we don't think about other things in a different realm. Meaning, we know, like we were saying, blue eyes, blonde hair, genetics, but we don't think about that same genetic predisposition to be your stature, your physicality, how wide your shoulders are. We don't think about that. You know, we don't think about that.
Yeah, I videoed a 4th generation vegan, and he's raising his children vegan. 5 generations.
Absolutely.
Dr. Stephen Esser, and that's going to be released here soon. And he's like 6'5". You know, there was a study a year or two ago that vegans are shorter or something. I don't know if you heard about that.
I've heard that.
Yeah. And here this guy is 4th generation and he's 6'5". Like, really?
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, and now he's thin, you know, and some people fat shame, some people thin shame. I think it's important for people to understand and hear that there's more to it than what we're eating as far as how we appear.
Right, there's more to than what we're eating than we appear. Do people blue eye shame? Do people long nose shame? Do people big ear shame? Maybe, maybe not. But what we have attributed to beauty, it's very disheartening that that's attributed to size and the physicality of the aesthetic.
And as if it's within our control via our diet.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I want someone to eat. I want someone to eat and see if they can change their eye color.
I mean, now I've heard you can.
Well, I've heard. Well, yeah. Okay, we probably heard the same study. We're right.
Like it might turn more hazel or something.
Right, exactly.
I don't know. I mean, there's some things. Yeah. Could you be with somebody who isn't vegan?
Oh, you're spicy. Ooh. Yes. Let me say yes. I can. It would not be my preference, but I could if the person did not shame me for being vegan. I could. And I'm saying that loosely because that's a very good question. Because tomorrow it may be no. Because I'm thinking about it as I'm thinking about it. That person would have to be very understanding, as I would be understanding to their dietary choices and their lifestyle habits.
So you've been vegetarian your whole life and vegan for half of it, and do you feel like it's had a positive or a negative impact on your relationships?
I would say both.
Yeah.
Both. One of my clients, she said, "You don't even know what you're missing. You're vegan, you haven't tasted this, you haven't tasted that, you haven't tasted this." And I say, "You're right. I don't know what I'm missing." And she paused. She said, "Yeah, that's true. I don't have any regrets because I don't know what I'm missing. I don't have any regrets because I don't know what I'm missing."
Now, is your mom vegan?
She is.
When did she go vegan?
She went vegetarian at 27, 28. My mother is now 72. She went vegan, put it like this, she was vegan when I was vegan. She went vegan when I went vegan, but she had probably already been vegan.
Do you ever worry about any specific nutrients?
I don't worry about specific nutrients. I don't. I just.
Do you ever eat a certain way for certain nutrients or combine? Do you ever think you need to combine?
Each day, I try to get good fat in. Good fat, whether it's the avocado, good fat, whether it's some flax. So good fat. I try to do amino acids. I try to, each meal looks different or the same because I'm not a foodie. You know, some people, they have to have, I ate that yesterday. Okay, I can eat it every day, right? I can eat an avocado every day. I can eat, a quinoa and beluga lentils every day. I can eat because I understand nutrition over food. And I think once we start understanding nutrition over food, I think of course, our lifestyle would change, but also our health would benefit.
Do you say, if I don't get enough flax in, I'm gonna be, my brain's gonna shrink or something?
No, I don't worry about that because whatever flax does, a walnut can do as well. So if I have walnuts on Monday and flax on Tuesday, I'm fine.
So you just kind of eat a variety and don't really
eat a variety of fruits and vegetables.
Do you take any supplements?
I'll do a D3 every now and then, but it's a food-based D3. Do a D3 every now and then because, of course, I'm melanated, right? So I'll do a food-based D3 every now and then.
What about like B12?
Not necessarily like B12 itself. Maybe a food-based B complex to get all the Bs in. This company that I love, the food-based supplement company, Garden of Life.
And you would probably do that whether you're vegan or not, right?
And that's what people tell me all the time. People who eat meat, they say, you take supplements? I'm like, but you do. You drink a meal replacement shake? I said, mine looks different, but you do. It's kind of weird to hear those conversations, to hear those questions thrown at me, because...
Do you need to do these supplements though?
No. If you get enough, so sometimes during the day, if I'm busy during the day and I can't eat the way I want to eat, I'll probably do a plant-based meal replacement. It's just not, I'm throwing back a protein shake. No, it's just not that. It's a meal replacement. It has the good fats. It has, the amino acids, the plant-based, so.
I like that answer. I haven't really heard anybody say that yet. And that's kind of what I do too. Like if I don't get enough sunshine, I'll take a D, Like if I'm too busy, it makes sense to do a multivitamin.
Because life happens, I tell people all the time, life happens when you're having life. So sometimes life gets interrupted with life.
Yeah. Now, have you ever had any problems with iron? Because a lot of, women may have, concerns about anemia and stuff like that.
Years ago, a very stressful and traumatic event in my life happened years ago, and my body reacted, and my iron dropped. My iron dropped. It dropped really low, and other than that, I haven't had any problems since.
And how did you deal with that?
Well, I had to go. I went into the hospital, and
infusion.
Yep, and it was just a natural reaction to a very traumatic emotional event. And so that's why I tell some people sometimes your health follows, of course, your emotions.
So it was very isolated, sounds like?
Very isolated.
And so it was just a transient thing. It was like, prior to that, there was no issues?
No issues.
And then after that, how long did it take to resolve that? Was it just one series of infusions?
One series, yeah.
Okay. Like over the course of, a year or what? I don't know.
Maybe a full blood cycle, maybe 3 months, 4 months.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So was there any other?
Because the traumatic event, I wasn't eating.
Oh, so is there something emotional happened that caused you to just?
To just not eat. Right.
And no other ailments or anything?
No.
Why do you think some people quit veganism?
Oh, that's a spicy question. Spicy. I think people quit the lifestyle, because of course it's a choice for most. It's a choice for most. And a lot of people, I do believe, in my humble opinion, a lot of people are not nurturing their choice. So if you're not nurturing your choice, what you're doing is there's a lot of volatility in your choice. There's a lot of if that, then this, or maybe that, maybe a little bit of this, maybe a little bit of that. There's a lot of volatility in your choices because you have not yet been grounded in that particular lifestyle, and you think it's still a choice.
You have any success stories you want to share?
Success stories. Oh, wow.
Whether you were directly involved or not.
One of my clients was on 3 different types of insulin. Went plant-based, lost about 150 pounds, and he's off his insulin. So, those stories for the plant-based community, the plant-based lifestyle, they're going to come a dime a dozen. Because the plant-based diet lifestyle is an anti-inflammatory lifestyle. The inflammatory diseases are the cardiometabolic diseases that can be combated with a different diet and exercise. So you have these cardiometabolic diseases, and when you adopt a different lifestyle and different habits and eat differently, you're less susceptible to those diseases.
That could be anything though, right? Like
That could be anything,
could be
and that's what people
keto,
tell me. That's why I brought it
paleo.
up. Right, that's what people tell me. The sum total of what you're doing, does it increase or decrease the probability of sustainability? 9 times out of 10, if a client comes to me for plant-based coaching, they do not return to eating flesh, eating meat.
Got a favorite quote you want to share? You shared one earlier. We got another one?
It's not mine. 2, eat to live, not live to eat.
Dr. Joel Fuhrman.
Yes. Let food be medicine, and medicine be food.
Is there anything about vegans you wish you could change?
Some of us being judgmental, very judgmental. And some of us not realizing that we all are in this together. And as I was younger, sharing is caring. You hear this, sharing is caring. Share your lifestyle. Don't bombard someone with it.
Will you ever eat lab-grown meat?
Would I ever eat?
Lab-grown meat?
What is that? I have no idea what that is. Is it made from a walnut? No. What is that? So what did you say, what did you say?
Lab-grown meat.
Lab-grown meat. That's what you're saying. Lab-grown meat. I'm like, what is that? I had no idea what you were saying. Lab-grown meat. No. That's the negative. Lab-grown meat. That's the negative. No.
If a doctor told you you had to eat animals, what would you do?
Change doctors.
And is there anything that we didn't discuss that you would like to share, or any encouraging words last minute here?
Let me just say, when we as people become more self-aware of what resonates with us and moves with us spiritually and emotionally, I think we'll find our sustainability in how we eat. Because I've heard the saying over and over again, you are what you eat. And if we are what we eat, we're living as zombies and we're not self-aware. There is less spiritual and emotional ebb and flow. We can't flow in and out of what's good and what's bad and what's not good for us, what's bad for us. And I think that becoming more self-aware with our lifestyle would better serve us as a population, us as a world. What we know and how we know it and how we implement it in our lifestyle would better serve us. I do believe that. We are what we eat. So if we eat something and we consume something that doesn't have life, then we need to become more self-aware of what it's giving us.
Is there anything you'd like to see happen in your lifetime?
This may be very facetious. I want to see cows eat people. In my lifetime, I would like to see a cow eat a person. Yes, I would.